This Sunday, April 12, 2026, Benin elects a new head of state. 1 seat, 2 candidates. Romuald Wadange of the ruling party and Paul Humbe of the opposition party. Nearly 8 million registered voters will decide who becomes the president for the next 7 years. Join us with our team of producers, correspondents in major cities across Benin and other parts of West Africa for a full day of live commentaries, reports and debates on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar and streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Starting 6 a.m. This Sunday, April 12, 2026, Beninese will decide. WADR covers.
WADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar through our website www.wadr.org.
Citizens R is evolving as the WADR's partnership with NET continues. This April, your NET Democracy and Governance program is going to the Sahel. We will focus on Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other West African countries, including Benin, Togo, Nigeria, and the Gambia. Bolder conversations, real voices, inclusive discussions. Let's talk democracy. Let's talk governance. Let's talk your truth. Citizens R Season 2 in partnership with the National Endowment for Democracy, NET, on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar.
The time we have all been waiting for is here. Good morning and welcome to the first edition of NET Citizens Hour Season 2. We're live on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM in Dakar, Senegal. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and we're live on the WADR app. I am Atiewin Imvila.
And I am Veronique Njai. Thank you for joining us this Saturday morning.
Now, in less than 24 hours, Beninese voters would head to the polls to choose a successor to President Patrice Talon, who is stepping down after completing his 2 constitutional terms.
2 candidates, Finance Minister Romuald Wadange from the ruling coalition and Paul Humpe from the minority opposition, are going head-to-head in this election amid heightened scrutiny over possible voter apathy and incumbent interference.
Now, tomorrow's vote follows January's parliamentary elections, where the ruling party swept all 109 seats in the National Assembly with a turnout of around 37%.
Today on Citizens Hour, we are asking the big question: how prepared is Benin for tomorrow's election? And are the electoral bodies in the country prepared for the elections to ensure a credible, transparent, and inclusive presidential vote?
Stay tuned in, because over the next 90 minutes we will bring you live reports from parts of Benin. We'll hear views from the electorate and bring you analysis from our expert panel. Feel free to interact with us via all our social media platforms on Facebook and YouTube, where we are live. You can also interact with us on Instagram and on X at WADR English.
The conversation starts. The big question is asked: is Benin prepared for these elections? To give us an update about what is currently happening in Benin, Alpha Abubakar joins us live from Cotonou. Good morning, Alpha.
Actually, the situation is calm, and the campaign for Sunday's presidential election has been peaceful across Benin. That is from my observation. This includes the 2 main cities, which is Porto Novo and Cotonou, as well as other towns and regions. The 2 candidates, Romuald Wadange and Paul Humpe, travel safely across the country to meet voters, despite ongoing security concerns, especially in the north, where there have been attacks. However, there has not been much excitement, particularly in Cotonou. Crowds at the campaign events were generally small. The campaign ended on Friday at midnight. Both candidates held their final rallies in the afternoon, each with their supporters. Overall, the campaign has been calm, and based on the current atmosphere, I think voting on Sunday is expected to go smoothly.
Well, thank you, Alpha. It seems you're already ahead of me when it comes to the conversation. Good to know. But then tell us, Alpha, from what you have gathered from the time that you have spent in Benin, how prepared would you say that the stakeholders are for the vote, especially the Autonomous National Electoral Commission of Benin and the security services?
Both candidates have tried to reach voters and present their ideas and try to gain support. Now they are leaving the decision to the people. The Independent National Electoral Commission, which is SENA, says it is fully prepared for the vote. On Friday afternoon, we even attended a press briefing by the SENA president, which is Mr. Sakalafia. He said all preparations have been completed. Election materials have been delivered to about 17,000 vote centers. Security arrangements are also in place, and vote centers are expected to open on time. This is important to allow as many people as possible to vote.
The Senate has ensured that the organization is flawless in every respect. The election materials are already in place. To the dedicated members of the Senate, your impartiality must be as solid as a rock. Let professionalism be your armor and the law your sole guiding light. Let us make this Sunday, April 12, 2026, a triumph of civic duty. May democracy triumph in all its splendor. May Benin forever bask in peace and brotherhood.
I think that was Sakalafi Alpha Abubakar. But then let's speak about the security arrangements currently in Benin. We know about the security situation in the country, especially in the extreme north of the country. How or what security arrangements have been made to ensure that the vote happens and in a very stable atmosphere?
Security measures have been put in place to ensure a safe and smooth election. Soldiers will be at the voting centers to protect voters and election officials, but the exact number of deployed personnel is not yet known. However, security forces are already visible at the key location, including Sena office. In fact, at the press briefing on Friday, we saw around a dozen soldiers at the venue. I think similar security presence is also expected at other institutions and voting centers, especially in sensitive areas.
And now to one of the most biggest questions when it comes to this vote, which is about the perceptions of the voters. What kind of sentiments are you getting from the electorate? Are they planning to vote, or what excuse are they given if at all they say they wouldn't vote?
There has been limited excitement during the campaigns, even though some rallies attracted dozens or in some cases hundreds of people. Many Beninese citizens appear uninterested. Some believe that the outcome of the election is already known. Others are unhappy because the main opposition party, which is the Democrat, was not allowed to participate. They feel that the process is not fully democratic, and as a result, they prefer not to take part. We spoke to several young people at the University of Abomey-Calavi, which is one of the largest universities in the country, and opinions are divided. Some students support the candidates' youth program and plan to vote. Others say they will not vote, describing the promises as unrealistic. They also pointed out that voting is not compulsory in the Republic of Benin.
Very, very interesting conversation. But then, Alpha, let's look at what to expect tomorrow. What times do the polls open? What times do they close? What are the figures? How many registered voters do we currently have? And what should we generally expect when it comes to the elections?
Given the calm campaign environment and the security measures in place, I think voting is expected to proceed without major problems. voting centers will open at 8 a.m. and close at 6 p.m. local time. There will be about 17,400 vote centers across the country, serving more than 7 million voters. In the diaspora, around 62,000 voters are expected to vote at 112 voting centers.
Thank you very much. And that was Alpha Abubakar, who is currently in Benin, giving us just basically setting the pace for the conversation today as we look into Benin's presidential elections, which is tomorrow, Sunday, 12th April 2026.
And we'll also be hearing from these electorates that Alpha was speaking about to find out what their mood is, what they feel ahead of tomorrow's election, but definitely a very solid foundation. Let's now welcome our guests in studio, and those on Zoom will be joining us in just a few minutes, but very exciting mood we're getting from Alpha that he's told us exactly what's happening in Benin. In the studio, ladies first, we have Gloria Boko. She is Africa Policy and Advocacy Specialist. Thank you very much for joining us here at West Africa Democracy Radio. We also have Dr. Ibrahim Khan. He's an expert on political affairs in West Africa. Dr. Khan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Very soon I'll be introducing our guests via Zoom, but let's start in the studio, Dr. Khan, with you. As a political affairs analyst in West Africa, we'll look at the context of Benin. But when Alpha was giving us the update, when he spoke about the electoral management body, when he spoke about the electorate and how there's a bit of skepticism, also bearing in mind what happened in January during the election and the low turnout, what really stood out for you in the update that Alpha gave us?
Well, it tells you a lot about what has changed in Benin. You know, in 1990, when the world collapsed in Germany and we have a second wave of democracy in Africa, Benin was the first country to get into that system. And it was a genuine move, because what we then after knew as Conférence Nationale started in Benin. Benin was the first country to inaugurate that way of not only designing the new system, but also including everybody in the process of determination what will be the future of the country. So Benin is exemplary in that sense. But the Benin we are seeing...
Fast forward 2026 and...
No, 1990.
Yes, but I'm saying fast forward to what's happening now.
And I can even tell you, because of that process, Benin was the only country in the last 30 years in Africa where a constitution has never changed, even a comma. It was impossible to have a comma in the constitution without a genuine conversation among the stakeholders. But all that has vanished. Vanished because a system was set up by the president who is leaving now. Not only he has transformed the country, and I think it's really important when you talk about Benin to also mention the fact that it's a business person who came to power.
What impact does that have?
But it transformed the whole country as a kind of business. In Benin, under the president who is leaving, you know, any business big business that can happen in the country, if it is not including the interest of the incumbent, you won't have a business. You know, Benin is also a country where, because the business person who in the past was the kingmaker became a king himself, he knew all the mechanism, all the system that were in place to control the state. He did that. We experienced the revision of the constitution, not once, not twice, but many times, the latest being the creation of that nonsense of Senate.
Well, but some would argue that that's relative.
Yeah, but we will talk about it.
I'm sure we will.
And two, he transformed the country in a system where everything starts and ends with the president. You know, nothing can be done without the president. And Benin people even forget that the democracy in Benin was created against militarism. But he nearly, without the support of France, the French military, he nearly lost the power.
In the attempted coup?
In the attempted coup. And I can tell you today, now, the French army is present in Benin to protect the country.
After the coup, after the attempt.
Yeah, after the attack.
After the attempt.
After the even now, Alpha mentioned it, in the northern part of the country, the French are protecting him. So for me, that symbolism of the French presence tells you a lot of how the 10 years of Talon completely transformed the country. And my last point will be also, because we talk about democracy, it's about rule of law, it's about respect of human dignity and life. Talon, there are many people who are in prison. And some of them who are in prison simply, they didn't agree on the way Talon wanted to run the country, or for one of them, an eminent professor, simply because he was a candidate.
So you seem clearly very surprised about how the democratic credentials of Benin have transformed from what was happening. Exactly. Gloria, are you surprised as well? Is this coming to you as a shock? And other points with what Dr. Kana said that maybe you disagree with?
I will not say I'm shocked. I feel like it's something we used to see in West African countries, but coming from Benin, who has been for a long time, like Dr. Khan said, an exemplary in democratic is really surprising. And coming also when analyzing the way the lead to this situation today, where we just have two candidates running for the presidential elections. We see many leaders of opposition who were sent in jail. Mr. René Agbojo, the leader of the Democratic Party, who was barred out from the election because he was not able to secure the requested number for sponsorship. So it gives a really consensus, and I think it also supports what Alpha said recently when he was saying that citizens are not feeling so dedicated, or they are not showing.
They are not sure whether they'll really vote. Yeah, especially young people.
Because I think they don't feel included in the process since the starting. So totally agree with what Dr. Khan just say.
He speaks about the outgoing president, as we would call him, right, at this point, and the fact that he was a businessman and he's running Benin like a business. Is that something that you also see from where you sit?
Yes, it's actually something that I saw, because like he said, he was kingmaker, and he became king. He know how things actually works. And today when you go in Benin, they will say, okay, he did accomplish a lot of things, but the system remained like closed, starting from him, ending with him. And if you are not in the system, you have issue, you have problem, you cannot go where you want to go. So yeah.
You agree with that? All right. Well, I'm sure we'll delve more into the business of politics and the politics of business, basically, is what we're looking at. But Vera, we do have some guests joining us via Zoom.
Yes, we have on Zoom Amzad Abdullahi, a political and geopolitical consultant. Good morning, Amzad. How are you? Okay, I think we're experiencing some issues with that. But then let's introduce Wuldat Mama, a Beninese journalist specialized in geopolitical and democratic governance.
Good morning.
Okay, Mr. Amzad, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm good. Great to have you join this conversation.
Thank you.
I know you have been listening to the conversation here in the studio with Mr. Khan and Gloria. do you have any reactions? What are your thoughts? You are a Beninese. You stay in the country. You know what the situation in the country is like. Can you give us a rundown of what is currently happening in the country?
I think this lesson are very important for Beninese because it's a part very important for democracy of Benin. And about the history, I think since 1990, Beninese people have to choose right now the president because it's important factor for the future, And about the choice, I think that Beninese didn't have a lot of choice, like it was said during this discussion. But it depends about a lot of factors, a lot of parameters. But right now, I think that we can discuss about this kind of factor. We can discuss about this kind of parameter. I think about election, about security, Cotonou and the great city are safe, but about the city who are in the north of the country, it more be difficult because of crisis of terrorism. But I think governments of Patrice Talon made a lot of choice about security, about the safe since years, a lot of years. And right now, I think that about security, I can say that we can have a good measure about security. About infrastructure and logistical groundwork, I can say the organ of election like l'EPI are functional or is functional, and about the credibility we can talking about the discussion, but I think that
Mr. Amzat, are you there? Okay, since we're struggling to hear Mr. Amzad, Wuldat Mama is a Beninese journalist specialized in geopolitical and democratic governance. Good morning, Wuldat. How are you?
Yes, good morning. I'm fine, thank you. Good morning to everyone here on this panel.
Okay, good morning.
To have good relation in Benin. Yeah.
Oh, it seems that is fine now.
Okay, Mr. Hamzat, thank you. I'll just continue the conversation with Wuldat and we'll get back to you, especially with the perceptions of Beninese people about this vote. Back to you, Wuldat. You've heard what the panelists are saying, the conversation regarding how Benin has evolved over the past couple of years. You are also a Beninese. You stay in the country. You monitor the situation. And you have also been monitoring other countries in West Africa. What is your reaction to the stakes when it comes to Benin? What is currently happening in the country?
Yes, well, I'd say that it is important, and I really appreciated that we reminded Benin's democratic history and legacy. And I think it's very important because today there are many voices about democracy, especially on social media, that tend to erase a very African and social demand for democracy in the 90s. And I think it's very important actually to remind ourselves of this, because in the 1990s there were many demonstrations and demand for the opening of political systems and of democracy. And actually you have students, you have unions, which have paid a very high price for the Conférence Nationale, as your first panelist was referring to. And actually, what we are hearing about, the famous La Baule demands from François Mitterrand, the former French president, for the African systems to democratize and to open open and to admit other political parties. Actually, it was just the crowning of all this very internal and yes, native process of demand for more liberty, for more freedom, for the right to choose a future, for the right to choose your leaders, for the right, yes, to choose the vision for the country, for a right for inclusiveness. So actually, I think it's very important that this was reminded. And also, we are talking, of course, when we are speaking about democracy. Of course, democracy is not only about elections, but since the timing is about elections, we have to speak of free and fair elections. And yes, it is true that, to be fair, we can say that democracy in many African states have been taken kind of hostage by oligarchies, kind of transnational oligarchies, which justifies today the rejection of democracy. And there is a regional, even a continental trial. Democracy is on trial, as we know, but not only, actually, even globally. I think that it's not a fair trial for democracy. Democracy appears more like a scapegoat for bad governance, for elites which have been out of reality. And it's about the performance of the democratic systems to achieve development, to achieve just the public good. And I think that the real issue.
Yes? 2 days ago, I had an interview with former Beninese minister, Depo Sonon. I'm guessing you know him. And he did say that Benin has its own type of democracy that it is practicing. I know you are speaking about the oligarchs and how, they have been trying to manipulate democracy in countries. How would you react to this? Do you think it's true that Benin is practicing its own democracy?
No, I think it's those kind of arguments are made to me in bad faith, because there are standards of democracy, and when we are talking of elections, they are really standards which cannot be moved. But where okay, we are hearing also voices asking for an African type of democracy, like democracy was imposed on us by foreign powers. Where I would agree with that is not as much the standards of democracy, like assemblies and check and balances, but more the idea. Maybe it's more the individualistic acception of democracy that is maybe that can be questioned here. I mean that in Western societies, the matrix of the society, the atom of the society is the individual, whereas here in our societies, in African societies, but also in the global South societies in general, it's the group which is the atom of the society, the group, the family, the community, and not the individual. So maybe we have to encompass this notion of democracy, which is not about the individual, which becomes a king, which can emancipate himself totally from the group, from its, of social norms. So I think, to me, this is really the part of democracy that Africans are allowed to reject and are allowed to customize maybe more to our own socio-anthropologic realities.
Now, all that, it's good that we look at, what type of democracy works for Africa and what type doesn't. But if we're to look at tomorrow's vote in Benin, and the fact that clearly there's consensus here that there's a lot going wrong in the type of democracy that's currently being witnessed in Benin vis-a-vis what was seen almost 2 decades ago, what role does SENA have in informing and influencing people's trust in the electoral process for tomorrow? And have they been able to do that? Do people trust that tomorrow's result will be free and a true reflection of what they want?
No, I think honestly there is a break of confidence, of trust in the social contract between the people and the elite in powers and all those organizing the elections. This is the problem, the issue of our systems, which have learned to disguise, which have learned to play democracy without actually truly, in good faith, bending to its norms of transparency, of openness, of independence of some bodies. We will see, of course, but when we look at past participations, we have seen clearly a reflux in the participation of the Beninese to former elections, and we can anticipate quite fairly that this will be the case also today. I'm in agreement with what have been said until now, which is to say that many people have under the impression that their vote is not going to matter, that everything has been decided beforehand, and just to look at the way the main opposition party has been discarded. And all the previous reforms that have been implemented, and there is the reform in themselves, and also the way they have been implemented, the timing at night with the power break. I mean, it's like really I was talking of an oligarchy and of kind of a country being taken hostage, and this is really the impression of most Beninese today. Yes, I hope that answers your question.
It really does. And let's come to the studio, Dr. Khan. If we're looking at what Wulda is saying and what those in Benin are saying and what we're hearing from Alpha and the conversation we've had today, and looking at what happened in January with the low turnout, what would it mean for this election if the turnout was not massive?
Well, it will just confirm what we suspected, is that the democratic system is collapsing. It's collapsing, at least the compromise that was made in 1990 has just collapsed.
So it's a collapse of the democracy in Benin if we don't.
Yes.
How low does the result need to be for us to, as those watching, as election observers, possibly as citizens? Are we looking at 20%? If we have a 50%, is that a success, or what are we looking at?
But even if you have 50%, it's 50% of what? You understand? A president is leaving power, but is organizing a system in the way that it will continue to control the system, even if he leaves the power.
Mr. Khan, I'll just come in there, because if we were to look at the parliamentary elections that happened in January, we saw a 37% voter turnout out of the registered voters. Just to reiterate the question that Atiwin asked, if 37% of registered voters are turning out to vote, would you say that election is credible?
No, but you have to compare that 37 and what happened in the last 20 years.
There has definitely been a downturn regarding the number of Beninese that have been voting over the past.
But it's not only that dimension. I think what we need to look at when it comes to our democratic system is to look at the participation. Mm-hmm. Who is participating in the election? Is the election free? Are people free to say what they want and to do what they want? But as I mentioned to you, okay. That it's not only 37% of the people who participated, but the government got 100% at the parliament. Can we just say, when we look at any democratic system in our country, even if you have 90% of people who are in agreement with the government,
there's always
there should be 5, 3, or 7% who are against, who should be represented at the parliament. Because the parliament is the place where we discuss issues of the country. It's not the street. But you've seen now, because the parliament is controlled by the state, it's elsewhere that the people are going to discuss issues of the country, because the parliament is irrelevant for the conversation. So that's just one dimension. But the second dimension, if you have, if you are watching the system in Benin, Benin was known in the past of a country where trade unions were really important, but also trade unions participate in, any discussion regarding work. Not workplace, but, work condition, improve in
conditions of service and all of those things.
He stopped all of that. Said, there is no discussion, even if you go on strike. Now, there is a way to go on strike. It's not for the president only to determine. It's for the whole country to do. So they destroyed the trade union system. What replaced the trade union system?
Yes, because I think at the moment, some sectors are not allowed to strike, education sector, health sector, and even those that are permitted are only given 10 days of strike.
So all those issues needs to be looked at when it's come to really assessing the democratic system in Benin. I'm not talking you about the media and other. But you can even see, because I'm a human rights activist, I'm interested in those aspects. Benin was created in 1990, something that has never been seen before in Africa, the possibility for any citizen, when your right is violated, not to go to normal court, but to go to the Constitutional Court of Benin and to get your issues sorted out. I think, just for the symbolism of that mechanism, it's through that mechanism that Benin declared polygamy as contrary to the constitution of Benin. Because one citizen went to court and say polygamy is against. I'm just saying the symbolism. I'm not talking about the practical.
Yes, but you're saying people had confidence in the systems.
You know what Talon did? He took his own lawyer, his own personal lawyer, and nominated him as the president of the Constitutional Court. People decided, what is the usefulness of going to that Constitutional Court?
So then in that case, and then Gloria, that then comes to you, what is the point of having the election then? What does it symbolize to have an election where people, as far as this table and our analysts are concerned, as far as people are not going to show up to vote, and even if those who show up to vote are going to vote one-sided, why do we need to have an election? That's an expenditure, isn't it?
And that's a great question. So I think Benin, like our country, is the vote for democracy. So they need to show the world that they are seen in democracy. I don't want to say their democracy, their personal democracy, but they want to show that they are doing fair, they are following the fair process that they adopted since the creation of the country. They want also to give a kind of support or legitimacy to the person who will win that election, because maybe if we were in the other time where it's just like choosing someone to be a king or to be the president, they may have done that, but we are in another world that's somehow oblige them to follow the process, to show that they are fair, they are following the rules. So I think that's the main reason of conducting these elections actually.
Will that, would you agree? Will that? Okay, Asmat?
Hello. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
well, that's great. Would you agree that the point of having this election is just a rubber stamp, basically, to show that we had elections, we have a democratically, and I'm putting this in inverted commas based on what we're saying, we have a democratically elected president, but in the real aspect of what democracy represents, it may not be so?
Unfortunately, this is the case, and it has been the case all over the region in the past few months. When you look at what has happened in 2025, in the elections held in Ivory Coast, in Cameroon, to say the least, and we have strong reservations as to the democratic process, whether it was really fair. Free and fair. And this whole regional context it's very important, and it's maybe the opportunity to introduce something that has been said by a leader of the Sahel states, Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso. He said that democracy kills, and democracy is not for us meaning Africans. And I think it's important to address what he says here, because it is actually those elections held in bad faith, which actually give him the right to speak those words. And to me, it's more like since we are in a communication conflict, this is a rhetorical way for him to address the fact that this regime in the Sahel are unstand, because they do not. They openly, I would say, reject democratic norms. When actually the Gulf of Guinea countries, if we stay in the sub-regional West African area, are playing the game and have become very skilled at playing the game once more, without actually in reality, factually respecting democratic norms. So I think it's very important because, but at the same time, to me, it was really a communication thing, because at the same time, we are reminded in the same interview that the first charter of human rights in human history has come from this very region, has come from Mali and Guinea, which is the Charter du Mandé, from the 13th century, before all the Occident or the Western, all the Western charters. So this is very important because Africa has a democratic legacy. It actually more is about the way democracy has been translated, has been used, has been manipulated to achieve personal gains, to perpetuate systems which are more beneficial to transnational oligarchies than actually to the people.
And Amzath, to you as well, when you look at the trajectory, those who were born post 1990 may not have the experience that those who saw and witnessed what really happened and what the Constitution represented that year. Many of them will be voting, or we would hope that they would show up to vote in tomorrow's election. Has social media in any way played a role in people's general sentiment and desire or not desire to vote? Or where does that really fall? I think there's a delay with Amzath. Let's give him just 5 seconds. Amzath, are you with us? Unfortunately, we seem to have lost him. But I did see you nod when I asked that question, Dr. Khan. Is there a correlation? Is social media playing any form of role in this election? And are young people, do they feel inspired, or are they just also nonchalant about what's going to happen?
Well, when it comes to social media, now we are in the world of social media. we like it or not. Mm-hmm. You are affected, you are infected by social media. And I think the young generation is also, social media is the way for them to discuss issues of the society. Mm-hmm. I think that's it. Now, is social media going to change their mind or to determine what they will be doing tomorrow? I don't think social media only does it, because this is the end of 10 years of practice, of a certain practice of democracy.
For first-time voters,
yeah,
they were 8 years old at that time.
Yes.
And now
so now they have an opportunity to say whether, because if you even don't vote, it's a way of voting. Mm-hmm. We need to understand that. If you don't go to vote, it's also the way of voting. Maybe it's important to make the parallel with some countries like Senegal. I'm old enough to tell you that up to 1988, Senegal, the vote was just manipulation. Complete manipulation. In 1988, Abdoulaye Wade won the election, but was not the president. In 1993, the whole political class decided, okay, going into election, having participated in the electoral process, and at the end, even if you win, we don't want to participate in that. They all decided not to vote. Abdou Diouf was bold enough to say, okay, this means that the system that we had in the past is no longer working. Mm. Let's have a conversation, all of us. He called a respected former judge, Kebambay, to lead a team, and that team organized a kind of consensus. It was not Conférence Nationale per se, but it was a conversation around how we organize electoral processes.
Mr. Kane, I'm very interested in this conversation, especially I know the fact that you brought in the reforms that were introduced by the Talon administration, whether it's the thresholds and also who qualifies to vote, because I did know you mentioned what is currently happening in the parliament in Benin regarding the fact that the ruling coalition has 100% of the seats, which we could also say is because of the reforms, the main opposition, the Democrats, did not make it because they could not achieve the thresholds that were introduced by the Talon administration. But we'll get into that shortly. However, regarding social media, young people and their perceptions, I think it's time we take this vox pop in Benin, which reflects what young people think about this vote.
Yeah, what I was trying to do through that comparison is to tell you that, social media has also its own limitation. Mm-hmm. And the limitation is that this young generation who is using social media, when you look at them, maybe 60% of them is not going to vote. But they are using the social media to give their... So, to some extent, what is important tomorrow will be the number of people who are going to vote and choosing among the two that was declared. So for me, we need also to have a clear idea of the limitation of social media. But today, we like it or not, social media is the space where people, you can have a flavor of what is happening in the country through social media.
But we have a vox pop from Benin which kind of reflects what these young people are thinking at the moment. Let's have the sound.
No, I don't plan on voting. I just don't feel like it. As for going out, I don't want to tire myself too much.
Of course, I am going to vote because it's a civic duty, and so any citizen who wants their country to prosper must vote.
I don't know yet. I'm still on the fence. I will see how it goes. Right now, there isn't anyone in particular. I don't feel like voting. Yes, I'm required to vote, but if the two candidates running don't align with what I want for my country's development, I'd rather abstain.
I want to live in a healthy democracy where everyone is free to speak their mind, where everyone is free to express their ideas without fear of going to prison.
Personally, I think that when it comes to democracy in Benin, it's true that on a scale of 100, I would say we are at 70. In the Republic of Benin, a lot of people think that democracy hasn't reached its peak yet because, as you can see, we only have 2 candidates. And a lot of people like me think that if there were truly democracy, we could have had 10 15, 20 candidates. I want everything is fall into place so that the democracy we dream of will truly take root in my country, Benin.
That was the voice of young Beninese. Gloria, I'll bring you in now. How would you react to it? We have people saying they will vote, people who do not see the need to vote, and people who are a bit skeptical because they are saying it's just two candidates. Because like I said, the main opposition, the Democrat, is not allowed to vote because they did not meet the threshold that was introduced by the Talon administration.
I think every single person who spoke with their feeling, they are right. Those who choose to not vote, some of them feel, I assume they feel underrepresented because their candidates, their leaders were pushed away. Some of them just think that the result of the election is already shaped with the two candidates. And even some people are talking about a friendly match for this election, and I think I totally agree with them because the surprise will be to hear that Romuald Wadani didn't win, and I will be very, very surprised. And for some young people around social media and their young age, sometimes I think some of them will just vote because they just want to perform their first vote and have that ink on.
It is a very exciting feeling, I won't lie.
Yeah, very exciting. To be honest, that's what I did for my first
okay.
vote. So I think the feelings are actually really going from one person to one another, depending on what they feel, depending on who also they are supporting for these elections.
All right, Wuldat, you've heard Beninese young people and what they think about the vote tomorrow. What's your reaction? Because you are in Benin, you know the situation, and you understand the dynamics regarding perceptions and what is happening regarding people and how they are making their choices tomorrow. How would you react to the voices?
Yes, just before answering, I would first say about social media that it has no real influence on the polls, tomorrow's polls. But I think it's a place of relative freedom. Things you can say things, you can hear things on social media that actually that have no place in the media. In the mainstream media, but you also have it's balanced with kind of self-censorship. So it's still a place where you can actually hear and read the real mind of the people, which is kind of, well, as all the former panelists have said, they just have the feeling that whatever the outcome, it has already been decided for them. Then about the young people, I think that those are the same than those in the sub-regional area. They are hoping for change, like in the Sahel states. We have to remind ourselves here to remember that the coup that happened in the Sahel states came from first social unrest. So these social unrest in Mali, it was a broad social contest against Ibeka, which gathers political parties, which gathers unions, students. It was really a broad and also issues of governance, meeting issues also of security. In Burkina Faso, it was mainly about security. In Guinea, to be a little bit east, I would say rather west of the Sahel. Really, it was more about the third term of former President Alpha Condé. So there had been a lot of demonstrations against this constitutional change amendment to allow him to have this third mandate. So why am I referring to this? I am because it is actually this social unrest. This is actually the bed which allowed the coup to take place, because the military saw an opportunity. It was a window of opportunity they seized. So in Benin, you will recall, of course, a few months ago in December 2025, this attempted coup, and where Benin is different is that they saw what we're talking about. The military sensed that there was a general dissatisfaction with the way the social political scene was being or organized, mainly by the power. So they sensed that there was an unrest, but there are issues in the military which have come out about the organization, about there is dissent against the military. So they thought that actually they could take this opportunity, seize it to just as in the Sahel states to take power. But where it didn't work is that the Beninese are different. They have this attachment to peace. So it will be difficult actually for Beninese to agree to violence in the name of change. The attempted coup actors in December 2025 actually hoped for a Burkinabe scenario, like in October 2022, where when he seized power, all your young people in most urban areas came out to support the coup. It would not have succeeded without young people coming out in the streets. So this is what they were hoping for, but it did not happen. So for young people, and I think here in Benin, the most likely scenario is for change, for real agency against, again, I would say, of the people. It would be like a change in the margin, but still in the margin of democracy. And this is like what happened in Senegal, for instance, with PASTEF, which was a couple of years ago, still a very marginalized party in the political system, the political landscape, but which has become mainstream. So it would be more like a change from the margins, but still the margins of democracy. For the Beninese to go out and support a coup, I think it would take more.
I see. It's good that we delve into what happened last year and also look at that in the context of what's happening now. One of the young people that we did speak to spoke about the fact that there are only 2 candidates, and if it was a real democracy, we would have more. We would have 5. He spoke about double digits. Ulda, do you agree that the fact that there are 2 candidates already is a message being sent, bearing in mind those who were disqualified?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because obviously there have been some reforms which have toughened the game for aspiring political leaders to come forward and to be candidates in these elections. But at the same time, you have political systems where you have only 2 candidates, and actually they have come through a democratic process. So it really depends. So you had a major political reform in Benin, which institutionalized 2 main parties in the for the power in place, and also in the opposition. So the idea was actually that the coming to power that has taken place in 2016 and mostly had taken place in Benin would not happen again. That the random candidate with financial power and mostly financial power, but also the knowledge of the system would be able to sweep everything and to come into power without actually having yes.
Sorry, we lost you for a moment there. Please.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly. Please land.
Okay. Okay. Oh yes. What I don't know where you lost me.
No, just toward the end where you spoke about the reforms and the fact that these reforms. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, the reforms. So these reforms actually have not allowed have not allowed the aspiring candidates to really be able to come forth and to be candidates.
Right.
So I would say yes and no, but there was a major reform a couple of years ago in Benin, which was aimed to me exactly as preventing what has happened in 2016, which is a candidate, people knowing that he was a main actor in the political system, but behind the scenes, but with the financial power to be able to sweep everything and come and take power. So this is actually a way also to control the outcome of the political system. Yes.
Well understood. Thank you, Wildat. Let's now, she's taken us directly where we needed to go to talk about the reforms and what impact these reforms have had and will have on the governance of Benin going forward. Dr. Khan, with your general views on what's happening in Benin, clearly the reforms were not something that you are in agreement with. Am I right?
Yes.
Is there anything good about these reforms when it comes to democracy as far as you're concerned?
No.
Nothing at all?
Nothing. You know, when it's come to democracy, it's not just about general aspiration in democratic system, but it's also about the reality of the country. You know, I'm persuaded that the democracy in the US is different from the democracy in the UK, which is different from the democracy in Australia, which is different from the democracy in Senegal and other.
Yes.
The reality of the country dictates the way you do. Again, my starting point is 1990. 1990 was a compromise on how to organize the political life and the social life of the country. So that compromise is for me the underlying element that every time you want to change something, go back and see what were the clear idea behind that social fabric.
But let's look at, for example, moving the term to 7 years, 2 7-year terms.
Yeah.
What's wrong with it?
For 14 years, in a country where the majority of the population is young, 14 years is too much.
To effect real change?
No, it's too much. You need to give a chance to the population every 5 years or every 4 years to really assess the progress or the regression made by political leaders. And you need to control them.
Because some have also argued that 4 years, 5 years is too short a time, especially 2 terms, that would be 10 years or 8 years, for someone to effect real change, and possibly longer terms should be encouraged. For example, I could give an example of Ghana, where there is at the moment a constitutional review committee that are requesting for an extension in the presidential term limit because they believe that 2 4-year terms are too short for real effective change. That could be a school of thought, no?
Yeah, it could be a school of thought, but don't forget that we are in a context where we need to establish a system. We are not trying, for 30 years in Benin, they did a system. Nobody said it was wrong.
So don't fix what's not broken.
Yes, but
okay.
Talon came and said, no, this is not something that I like. I need to change it. Because you're talking about the reform, there was a lot of attempt by Talon in the first 2 years of presidency to change the constitution. All of them failed because the system didn't want any permit. So now he started dismantling each element. For instance...
Mr. Khan, speaking about the dismantling of the system, I'll just bring in the creation of the Senate. I know you did speak about it when we started the conversation. However, now we are talking about Benin having a Senate, and this Senate will comprise of possibly Talon, because the new president will be the one to choose the members of the Senate. So, and we know that the favorite to win the presidential elections, from all indications, is from the ruling coalition. So how does it look like, looking at the fact that this Senate could possibly have the current president, who is the one who introduced these reforms in it?
Well, it's good that you mentioned the Senate. First, the Senate was the last ideas of Talon, because now he knew that he was going, but now he knew that he has a lot of enemies, and maybe now he knows that maybe controlling the new president will be difficult. He wanted to put a system where he will be still in charge, and he will, things are ahead of us. Maybe Talon will end up being the president of the Senate.
Possibly.
And when you look
we will have you back in the studio if he is.
Yes, yes. And then, if that will be the case, look at the power of the Senate. The Senate even has the power to oppose to any changes that will be brought in by other institutions in the country.
So the Senate is the greatest body there is, basically governing
the
country.
It's a body that he thinks can help him to really control the system. But experience has shown in the whole West Africa, and I can even say in the whole continent, that the day you leave power is the day you lose everything. Mauritania, I can give you many, many examples where people have even choose their own cousin to be the president, and the cousin ended up locking him up in prison. So you have no control.
So isn't that possibly why there's so many reforms? Because he has seen what has happened to others.
Yes.
And he wants to avoid what could potentially happen to him.
He can still control. The day he hands over the power is the end.
So tomorrow basically may be an Independence Day for Benin. Possibly.
Well,
because he is going to hand over power. Ultimately, there is going to be a handing over of power.
Exactly.
There's going to be uncertainty about what that could mean for his influence in the decisions that are being made of the country.
Exactly.
So it could be possibly some form of an
but it will be.
It will be.
But
okay.
then the problem will be, is Benin out of problems, or Benin going to leave problem that he never knew before? That's, for me, that's the danger. Because the coup itself, we need to analyze the coup. Yes, it's true that people were silent. Nobody went out to support. Mm-hmm. That's, for me, a signal that everything that was done before, because Talon was the one controlling, and Talon was very hard. Like, ask Joel Avo. Just being a candidate for presidency is in jail for almost 8 years.
Mr. Khan,
No, I'm just telling you that because if Talon believes that he will be in control and he is not in control, problem will start in the country. First through the new president, but the new president will also have to face the opposition that is no longer in parliament, but the opposition that is on the street.
And the Senate as well.
Yes, and you've seen what already happens about just the Democrat to support or not the opposition leader. So, and you don't know what the trade unions will come up and say to the new president. We want all this bad legislation to be shifted. There are so many uncertainty at the moment in Benin that for me, and the new president, usually when he's come, is just everything to come down. I'm your new president, I want compromise, but on which basis? And these are the questions that so far nobody is talking about, but we'll have to answer.
Mr.
The political class and the citizen will have to answer. And that's where, for me, the young generation will come. Because we like it or not, Benin is like all the West African states. There is no job. There is a problem of freedom of expression, freedom of association. All these problems, when the new president comes out, they will emerge again. And how, the way the problem will be sorted out determine the future of peace, the future of democracy in Benin. And don't forget that northern part of Benin is already insecurity. And insecurity is really coming to the cost of the whole region. Recently, you knew what happened in Ghana. For the first time, it was a wake-up call for Ghanaian that, our people can die in Burkina Faso just going to buy things and to take. So meaning that the war is coming. Is he prepared? Now, as I mentioned to you earlier, the French are there to protect him. It's another problem for the region. Are Beninois ready to accept
the influence
of France in the region?
Very interesting conversation, Mr. Khan. But we'll continue. But I think at this moment we can take Amzad, who has been struggling to join due to network issues. Obviously, like Mr. Khan said, the reforms have really shaped what Benin is today. The reforms have shaped who becomes president, who becomes a parliamentarian, and even a creation of a Senate. The reforms have also shaped who has the right to protest in Benin and who can complain. There are also reforms about political parties and how they can criticize the government. This is a big one. So, Amzad, kindly tell us, generally, what is the perception of the Beninese people regarding these reforms? Because these reforms have been massive and they have affected almost every sector of the country. Going into the elections, what is the perception of the Beninese people? Amzad, are you there? Okay, let's have Wuldat. Wuldat, I know you're also in the country and you know the impact or the magnitude of these reforms in the country, which have gone across and have impacted almost every sector of the country. What is the perception of Beninese people regarding these reforms?
Yes, so I'd say that before there was a kind of natural selection as to who may come forward as a candidate, whether for regional election or for the presidential election. But since President Talon has come, and it was actually a really strong point of his platform, it was about la réforme du système partisan, which is the way actually candidates come forth. So the way he introduced it, he defended it as a way to promote, to foster continuity of vision, of choice, and to make it not anymore about one person against. It was against an hyper personification of candidacies. So just to put forward more the platforms, less than I'd say the persons. But about the Senate, it's very important here because it even put Benin in more regional context. Actually, when you see examples in Angola, for example, where the sitting president has tried, he was his candidacy, and he took power with the support of his mentor, José Manuel dos Santos. But then when he came into power, he did everything to dismantle the empire of his mentor. And you see also in Mauritania that Mohamed Ould Ghazouani has been also has been distancing himself from his mentor as well, Ould Abdelaziz, who has had very important judicial issues. You also have this pattern in Niger just before the coup of July 2023, where you had Mohamed Bazoum, who was trying also to bring regulation into the oil sector, which profited very much his former mentor as well. And they are rumors. They are more than rumors. They are insiders' information. letting us know that actually there was a kind of joint interest between the military which took power, led by Abu Hamid Tiani, and the former Niger president, in order to actually stop those reforms in the oil sector, which were very profitable to a certain system. So what we see here, this pattern that we notice, is that when they come into power, the mentoree, they try to distance themselves from their mentors. So it's about, as Freud would say, it's about killing the father. So I think that this Senate reform is made to prevent the one who has been chosen by the actual coalition to represent its interest, to actually attempt to distance himself and to strengthen his power. And it's about controlling him, controlling his action, and it's showing a very important breach of trust.
I am being informed that we now have Amzat back. Amzat, I was asking a question. Anyways, thank you, Wildat, for that contribution. Back to you, Amzat. I was asking you a question about the creation of the Senate and the reforms generally that have been introduced by the Talon administration, the reforms that go broad. They are broad. They affect who becomes president, who becomes a parliamentarian, and we also have the creation of the Senate. It also affects who can protest. It also affects which political party can criticize and how they can criticize the Beninese government. What is generally the perception of the Beninese people regarding the reforms that have been introduced by the Talon administration?
Well, about the reforms, I think that we have a lot of things to say. I think the reform between 2019 and 2023 raised barriers to restructure party competition and concentrate political field around actors who fit within the new legal architecture. And about the reform strengthens the system, I think that reform bring coherence to a previously fragmented landscape. But we have to tell it, we have to say it, coherence by restricting competition is not the same as democratic strengthening. And about the impact, I think reforms in Benin since 2019, they have reduced pluralism at a competitive level while maintaining formal participation mechanisms. But I think right now reforms make they found a way about the political in Benin. And we can say it's not enough, but I think that reforms are positive. They bring a lot of positivism in the architecture of politics in Benin. About the young, I have listened when we're talking about it. I think on the 12th, the young will not going outside to vote because they are not concerned about this election. It's a problem because when I'm talking about reform, this kind of reform didn't thinking about the young people in Benin. The young people need a program who concern them. They need program who can answer to the question. But right now, I think that system is like it's concerned only political. It's only concerned only kind of people, and it excludes the young people. So I think that during this election, we will not find a lot of young people in Benin who can go outside and making votes, and it should be a problem for long term in Benin. But I can finish about talking about maybe implication of this election for Benin democracy, because about implication, we can say that, that there are lots of, there are more, say, structural, because the consolidation of the current governing log without meaningful opposition risk locking Benin into competitive authoritarianism. And to finish, I think that a more open outcome will ensure democratic trajectory. And really, right now, this election is less about who wins and will be more about what kind of political regime Benin normalized.
Thank you very much, Amzat. As we wrap up this conversation, 2 quick questions. You can choose not to answer the first one if you feel that you're not comfortable answering. But will you be voting tomorrow, and what are your expectations post-election?
About the special, I'll not expect anything, because I think that government will be elected, is for sure. President will be elected after this election, but about the program, about the proposition, I think that we just only have one way about program and about proposition, because Mr. Paul Humper, who is from the party FCBE, he don't really have the hand to be a president or to be presidential. He don't have the funds. He don't have the way to be a president of Benin. So we just only have one way. It's the way of the continuation of this government. So I think that we can expect anything about this election to be objective, be critical. I think that we have nothing to expect during this election or after this election. And even we have a government, even we have a president, I think it should be a continuity of the politics of Patrice Talon.
Thank
you.
Yes,
I can hear about a lot of discussion on this way. I think that President Talon made some good choice, but he made lots of bad choice. And about this system, who don't prioritize multi-parties, I think that in the long term it could be a big problem for the political and for Benin.
Thank you so much. And we'll definitely have you back on. Hopefully then the network will be kinder to us, and then we can have that interaction. Thank you very much, Amzat. Wulda.
Thank you.
Your final remarks as to whether you vote, if you want to tell us, and what your expectations are post-election.
Just as Amzat, I think I will stay home tomorrow. Yes, it's very difficult, and the more you are aware of the stakes, it's very difficult to, in good faith, actually think that your action would would bear some influence. So I would. Yes, I would stay home anyways, and maybe hopefully change can come from elsewhere.
All right. Well, we do wish you all the very best, and please do stay safe. Let's come to our studio, Dr. Khan. Well, we are here, so we are definitely not voting, and we're not Beninese either, but expectations post-election doesn't look very encouraging. Is there a glimmer of hope anywhere?
Well, hope, yes, hope. There is always hope because it's about people's life and it's about the future of a country. There is always hope. This could be seen as just one step in the trajectory of the country. But something that he mentioned, and I really would have loved to discuss it here, is the program. Because if there is no offer to the population, how do you want the people to go and vote?
Like a manifesto.
Yeah, not only a manifesto, but saying what you will be doing. The problem is not just even about what you will be doing in the economic side and other. We are in a changing world. There is a shift in many. Look at the geopolitical shift that we are looking at now.
Yeah.
All these politicians need to have a position on it. They need to offer something to the population. West Africa is, the economic community of West African states is collapsing. What is Benin's position? Are they in favor of economic integration? Are they in favor of something else that needed to be known?
And we don't know that.
The third element is there is a world in transformation, the digitalization and all its implications. What are the position of the two
What's
candidates?
the strategy? What's the plan?
What's the strategy? What's the
Unfortunately,
plan?
we don't
so,
know.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Mr. Khan, thank you very much. Gloria, your final words in 30 seconds. Gloria, kindly tell us what we should, or what Beninese should be looking forward for tomorrow.
Oh, I think we are just one day before the election. Everything is already set up. Like my fellow said, the program they are proposing, because Rumiat said he will work in continuity of President Talon's politics, but will people feel included? Will the population feel included in that politics? Will the community feel included in that politics? And I think that's where the need, if they really want to complete or to do more than the upcoming 14 years, that's where they need to really work. So good luck to the two candidates.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Gloria. And also thank you very much, Mr. Khan. We would also like to thank the people that have joined us online. That's Amzad Abdullahi and Wildat Mama. And also thank you to Alpha Abubakar for setting the ground for the conversation. And yes, as the Beninese people cast their ballot tomorrow, this net edition of Citizens Hour has highlighted how prepared the country is and what is really at stake with regards to participation, trust, and inclusive participation. You've been listening to West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM. I am Veronique Njai.
And I am Atia Win Imbila. Don't forget, tomorrow is election day and WADR is the station to stay tuned to. We will bring you comprehensive coverage. Thank you so much for your time and have a good afternoon.
Citizens R is evolving as the WADR's partnership with NET continues. This April, your NET Democracy and Governance program is going to the Sahel. We will focus on Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other West African countries, including Benin, Togo, Nigeria, and the Gambia. Bolder conversations, real voices, inclusive discussions. Let's talk democracy. Let's talk governance. Let's talk your truth. Citizens R Season 2 in partnership with the National Endowment for Democracy, NET, on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar.